Greetings and salutations, nerds.
This is Praying for Superpowers, a weekly show about the deeper meanings, messages, and intricacies hidden within nerd culture. I'm Peter Jordahl.
And I'm Trever Shirin, and today we're talking about the Inklings, specifically the importance of camaraderie.
Jert and Jack. So for those of you who don't know, J.R.R. Tolkien would often shorten his name to J.R.R.T., which he told others was pronounced as Jert. So only amongst very few friends, and only generally as a joke, he did go by Jert. And Clive Staples Lewis, or C.S. Lewis, writer of the Chronicles of Narnia, the Screwtape Letters, of course he preferred to be called Jack.
Now, the Inklings is what they chose to call each other when they gathered together, and it was primarily a group of Oxford professors who would gather together at the Eagle and Child, a pub that I've been to, and it was awesome to be there. They've got pictures of C.S. Lewis and J.R.R. Tolkien there. And they would just sit and they would talk. They would talk about all manner of things, the projects that they were working on, the ideas that they had, the dreams they were having.
Sometimes they'd argue, they'd offer each other criticisms, they'd tell each other back and forth what was right and what was wrong. One of the most known debates between J.R.R. Tolkien and his friend Jack Lewis was J.R.R. Tolkien absolutely abhors speaking in one story under another, and that's exactly what C.S. Lewis did in all of the Chronicles of Narnia.
Which is why he so vehemently disregarded the idea that the Lord of the Rings could be an allegory.
He actually didn't understand people's love of the Lord of the Rings, and thought that most of them who were so excited about it probably didn't actually understand what he was trying to say. He thought they were weird, and so I'm sure he would not be okay with the elf costumes and such that travel all their way to New Zealand these days.
Yeah, he was not as nerdy as I think I wanted him to be.
Yeah, he's a linguist. He created a language first and built a world around it.
Which, I mean, that's the way you do it, right? What's really interesting about the Inklings to me is how diverse the group was.
They were all white males.
Well, yes, they were all white males.
It's Oxford in 1950. Of course they were all white males.
They represented different areas of thought, which is the diversity, not so much their racial or gender diversity. But there was Owen Barfield, who was a philosopher. As I was researching him, I got bored and stopped because I don't like philosophy.
There's Hugo Dyson, who is a devout Christian, most devout in the whole group, and convinced J.R.R. Tolkien to help him convert C.S. Lewis to Christianity.
Robert Harvard is a really interesting one to me. He, I believe, was J.R.R. Tolkien's doctor at some point.
He was his doctor and his wife's doctor.
And he was also known in the group as the useless quack.
I love the Brits.
Well, and what's funny too, like, side note, is because they're Brits, their humor is a little bit more sarcastic, a little bit more biting, but they also had the opportunity to talk about some really important things that they disagreed on in a safe environment that helped them all improve the ways that they were seeing the world.
Yeah, something that I think we don't have enough of in our modern society is the ability to disagree with one another. And for it to end with still being friends.
Point in case of how we are doing that well, I don't think that the British accent is the right way to go. However, he's doing it, and I'm going to support him in the midst of that, even though...
And honestly, I know it's probably quite terrible, but the truth is that I'm not going to have an excuse to do this again for probably several more episodes, and so, cheerio.
Cheerio.
Honestly, I've had several friends throughout life where we have one big disagreement and then we're no longer friends. And it breaks my heart, because you should be able to go to your friends to disagree about something fundamentally different in your lives and still be able to gather together for discourse, for communication, you need people in your life who can tell you whether or not something is a good idea.
I'm a huge fan of the phrase iron sharpening iron, and I think that's true of friendships. And what happens in that midst, it's not this nice little caressing of, oh, isn't that nice, when you're sharpening a knife against a knife. It's pretty harsh. Like, you're cutting off pieces of metal, small chunks of it, to make it sharper, and what ends up happening is you end up with two really sharp blades rather than just two blades that are kind of just staying the way they are because they weren't willing to go into the tension or the friction that comes with conflict.
Yeah, I think most people think of conflict as the two swords banging together, causing divots and cuts and breaks in the metal, instead of the sharpening.
Yeah. And we see some really excellent works that came out of the Inklings. And I truly believe that it came out of that because they had camaraderie and brotherhood. And that if we want things to be successful in our lives, if we want projects to go well, we need to be able to find people that we can be vulnerable with and share what we have and allow them the room to say, I think it's really stupid, your origin of dwarves.
You need to revisit Lord of the Rings episode for information on that tidbit. One thing that I love is that they were willing to change their minds. To go along with all of this is J.R.R. Tolkien didn't like allegory. He thought it was ridiculous that C.S. Lewis was trying to retell the Bible because J.R.R. Tolkien was a devout Catholic. He said the Bible's as good as it is. You don't need to tell it again. But eventually, J.R.R. Tolkien said, I think the allegory is the right way to go in your story. The other side of that is C.S. Lewis, when he started being a part of the Inklings, wasn't a Christian. And he changed his beliefs.
He was a stout atheist.
Yeah, he was very much an atheist, and he changed his mind. And so being willing to accept what people are telling you and change is something that, again, I think we don't have in society.
And it takes a lot of humility to have somebody tell you, this isn't great, and to say, I think you're right. How can I make it better?
I think that humility is something of the past. Is almost what it seems. Is that it's no longer the thing to do. The thing is pride. You need to be convicted in what you believe, and you need to be proud of what you believe. Be proud of your nationality. Be proud of your gender. Be proud of your religion. Be proud. It's always pride. It's pride. It's pride. It's not. Be humble in your pride. You can be proud. I think that's great. Pride is important. I think you need to be humble along with all of that, because you're going to end up alone.
Yeah,
honestly.
Well, and I think it helps that they met at a pub.
Yeah.
A beer during a hard conversation can be really helpful. A glass of wine, whatever it is. And if you want a suggestion on how you can kind of start to form your own camaraderie or fellowship to do this, here is a really easy suggestion.
Take your gaming group. Take your D&D group, your board game group, or people that, you can do this online even if you do it the right way. Find those who read the same books as you and have those discussions there. But instead of playing D&D or instead of playing board games, meet at a coffee shop, meet at a pub.
And I think that the beauty of fellowship will be seen pretty quickly because our brains react to relationship. That our brains don't fully develop unless they're in relationship with another person. And the average American spends 30 seconds a day making eye contact with another person, which is such a small number in a small amount of time. And it's important for us to have that relationship. Brandon Sanderson attributes some of his success to the fact that he invested into a writing group.
Brandon Sanderson would have named his main city in Elantris after one of the Greek gods on accident if he hadn't had that writing group, because he thought it was a good name and didn't remember that he'd heard it somewhere before.
All in all, I think it's important that we have people in our lives that can speak truth into us, whether it's the truth we want to hear or not.
Yeah, and I think it's important to have those people in your life who you're going to realize you need to be humble in front of, and at the right moments, be proud of in front of.
Yes, Lewis wrote in his Four Loves, which he attributed to the Inklings group. A lot of his concepts of the Four Loves came out of his friendships with these men. He says, in a perfect friendship, each member of the circle feels in his secret heart humbled before all the rest, each bringing out all that is best and wisest or funniest in all the others. And I think that speaks to your quote, too, of we're bringing out something good in the people around us. We're bringing out what's funniest, what's the best.
When C.S. Lewis died, Tolkien wrote to his daughter, Tolkien's own daughter, saying, I feel as I've been aging, leaves have been falling from my tree, and the death of Jack is like an axe blow at the base. And what that speaks to me is like when you go through life and you gain and lose friends, it's okay that it hurts. If it matters, let it matter. When it breaks, let it shatter. Let there be pain in those moments, because that's where real fellowship, real community comes from. Now take your Dungeons and Dragons group and turn it into a real life adventuring group. Journey together through the ups and downs of this world.
We'll catch you next time.